Most bettors don't lose because they're bad at picking games. They lose because their goals are setting them up to fail. They're chasing big wins, forcing bets, thinking they're basically one run away from hitting it big. And it sounds good, but it's exactly how bankrolls disappear. In this video, I'm going to show you why most betting goals are broken, what winning actually looks like, and how to fix it so that you're not stuck on the wrong side of this in the long run. So this is the real problem. Most betting goals sound good, but they're completely broken. And what I mean by this is on one side, you've got your dreams. It's all focused on money, right? Turn $500 into $10,000. Or you ignore reality, thinking that your sports knowledge alone is enough to win and that you can quit your day job. But the problem is those goals ignore how betting actually works. In reality, it's all about high variance, which means you're going to win a lot and you're going to lose a lot. It's also very slow growth and it requires discipline. So you're betting into very small edges over and over again for months and years. So the purpose of this video is to steer you in the right direction because sports betting looks a lot more like what's on the right and the goals on the left, they're not real goals. Those are basically lottery tickets. And if you guys like this type of sports betting education from Grandstand Sports Data, give a like to this video. It's going to signify that you want more of this type of content. So let's get a little bit deeper into why those dream goals don't necessarily work. Let's say you start with a dream goal of turning $500 into $10,000 by the end of the week. Now that leads into the next bubble, which is it leads to bad decisions. Now you're trying to play long shot parlays. Maybe you're betting games that you don't necessarily have an edge on. And then not just that, you're not even getting the best number. And now once that starts, you start to get into emotion, and emotion takes over. You're thinking, shit, I need to make that $10,000 as quick as possible. Now you're chasing losses. Now you're doubling your bet size. Now you're basically trying to win it all in one night. And before you know it, you wondered where your bankroll went, right? So this is the cycle that most bettors get stuck in, right? And the worst part is they don't even realize it. Because when your goal is unrealistic, your decisions basically, they become unrealistic with it. So at some point, you have to flip this. You have to stop chasing results and start building a process. Because here's the truth. You can only control what you can control. You don't control wins, you don't control losses, and there are no locks in this game, no matter who tells you there are. What you can control though is your process. And when your process is cooking, the results will start to take care of themselves over time. So, since we touched on the bad goals, what do good goals actually look like? And they're not necessarily going to be flashy or the sexiest things out there, but what winning bettors actually focus on. And number one is going to be the process. You need to master your process, not your picks, your process. Every bet should come from the same system. Statistical work like power ratings, models, maybe even systems themselves. Fundamentals, the context that actually matters in the sport that you're betting. And understanding the market can also be, beneficial, especially if you are in big market sports. Because if I asked you why you made a bet and you can't explain it to me clearly, that means you're not betting and you are just gambling. Let's move on to number two. Track everything. You want to track your bets, but also you want to track the factors behind them in your record keeper. For example, if you bet spreads in the NFL, you should be logging every bet that you place. But you don't stop there. You also want to measure your power ratings, your models, your individual stats, fundamental factors, and anything else for each of the games, regardless if you bet on them or not, to find those edges. Your record keeper should be your home base on finding systems, or at the least, finding a number that represents a certain factor. You can also find out if specific factors have number three, and that's beating the close in line or close in line value. Remember, getting better numbers than where the line closes, That's going to show you that you have the potential to beat the books in the long run. That's going to be one of the most crucial measurements in all of sports betting is closing line value. Number 4 is going to be the bankroll. We have a number of videos on this topic to help you preserve your bankroll. We recommend checking out our 5%, 15% bankroll rule. We'll leave a link down in the description down below for that video. But if you are just beginning, sticking to only basically a 1% of your bankroll will do just fine. Now, number 5, I want you to always think in the long term. I want you to think in months, years, not what happened today, not what happened this week. Because you can do everything right and still lose in the short term, and you can do everything wrong and still win in the short term. So remember, these aren't exactly the sexiest goals out there, but they're the ones that actually give you a chance. Now, let me give you some real expectations with some actual results. So, this is what winning actually looks like, and it's probably not what most people expect. Some of the best bettors in the world are winning and losing a lot. They're growing slowly and they're pounding small edges over and over again. That's it. That's all they're doing. Now, if you look over here on the grid to the right, these are real results from betfirm.com. I am not saying these are quote unquote professional bettors by any means, but they do track and publish their results, which at the least gives us something real to look at, right? And you can see from the win percentages, nothing flashy here. 52, 53, maybe even 55%. But they're not hitting that 70% that some touts out there are telling you that you need to hit. And look at the return on investment, 2, maybe 3%. Nothing crazy. They're winning, and they're winning just slightly more than they lose. But over time, that's what creates real profit because they're not chasing big wins, they're consistently making small, sharp decisions. And that's the difference. This is what sharp betting actually looks like. And most people quit before they even get to this spot in their career in terms of sports betting. Now, if you guys love this content that we put out, make sure to hit the subscribe button for Grandstand Sports Data. We're always putting out sports betting educational videos. Okay, so now the question becomes how do you actually fix all of this? How do you go from chasing those big dream goals to actually building something real? Well, it's going to start in a few simple steps. If you follow these, you're going to put yourself in a better position to avoid everything that we just talked about. And the first one is going to be picking a market. You need one sport, one bet type. That's it. And master it. Because if you're all over the place, you're never going to build a significant edge anywhere. Notice how I said significant edge. Some examples would be NFL spreads, maybe it's Major League Baseball money lines, whatever it is, you need to master that market. Number 2 would be your process. You need to build your research process. We already talked about this. This is where your edge is going to come from. Your power ratings, your stats, your models, your fundamental factors, and market factors. Remember, all sports are different, ladies and gentlemen. Even something like NFL versus college football. Some factors in NFL work, while those same factors in college football don't necessarily work. But it's the same sport. Why wouldn't it work? Well, even though the sport is the same, the statistical analysis might be, comparable, but the context, not necessarily. Think about it like talent for the NFL. There's not much of a significant difference in NFL talent. But when you look at college football, some guys may be a number one draft pick being matched up against insurance salesmen. Remember, just because the sport is the same, it's not necessarily handicapped the same. Number 3, work on your bankroll. You want to set your bankroll, know exactly what you're working with, and make sure it's something that you always can afford to lose. Number 4, unit size, right? You want to define your unit size. This is what keeps you disciplined throughout your whole process. It's going to protect you from those emotional decisions, and you'll always know how much to bet and when. And then finally is tracking. Track everything. Track the market, track your bets, because that's how you learn, okay? What's actually working and what's not working. Your record keeper will work in tandem also to help you master your market, which was number 1, right? And it's also going to develop a process that will find edges that will lead to future bets. So these steps are not necessarily complicated, but they're what separate people from who are guessing from people who are actually building something. And once you have this foundation, now you can actually start setting goals that make sense. So if you guys had any goals that tripped you up in your sports betting journey, put them in the comment section down below. We read all the comments and we'll try our best to respond to as many as we can. So that's it for this video. If you got value from this video, hit the like button. Also, consider and subscribing to Grandstand Sports Data for more educational sports betting content. Comment one goal that didn't necessarily work out for you in your sports betting journey. And if you appreciate the work that we put into these videos, feel free to drop a super thanks down below. It's like buying us a coffee for all the hard work that we put in. We appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.